Hey, welcome to episode of Chad's Beer Reviews with special guest Rich from End of the Day Beer Reviews.
Hello.
What's going on, man? When you think of Rich from End of the Day Beer Reviews, you think Bourbon County. You have every variant ever released ever.
I am lucky here. I'm between three distributors that get a lot of what we're looking for, and I have a very, very kind and supportive wife that allows me to purchase.
Yeah.
When I go through it. So yeah, I do try. Bourbon County is the thing that got me started on all this. So
Yeah. So we're drinking a pretty common one. This is the 2019 edition. And so here's the part where I show myself pouring it into the glass, and it's definitely a super dark brown. It's not quite inky black, and it did form a little bit of a head, but mine has vanished.
yeah, mine too. But that seems to be normal with the Bourbon Counties. Actually, I very rarely do I get high ABV beers that are the head lasts for any length of time. So
𝘃𝐵HS usually does.
I've had such bad luck with 𝘃𝐵HS that I've started to stay away from that.
How's your aroma? To me, this is all like rum-soaked raisin.
Yeah, there's the dark fruit in there. I'm also getting, I almost always pick up on the base the chocolate, but in this case, there almost is like a sweeter vanilla to it for me.
Mm-hmm. It's very fruity. I'm getting like black licorice, almost like maybe like a black licorice concentrate or a black licorice extract.
Oh, I hope not. I'm not getting that. And I have to tell you, like, that's that biscotti stout they did last year. That black licorice flavor is not my thing.
Yeah, I just had to get that a lot on like really big imperial stouts.
Yeah, what's terrible is now I'm starting to get a little of that as well.
Yeah, I accepted it into your head.
Yeah, and that's actually probably what happened.
Yeah.
So it's a nice nose on Bourbon County. It's one of my favorite beers when it comes to that.
I think we can get into it.
Let's go.
Ready to dive in? Cheers.
Cheers. Keep missing the camera. It's a little tighter than I'm used to.
That's pretty standard Bourbon County. I would definitely call it sweet. Maybe even after what, 5 years? Or well, 4 years. 4.5 years, I guess.
Yeah, 4.5.
Mild. I'm still getting mild warmth in the throat.
See, I'm not getting the warmth yet. It normally takes me 2 or 3 sips to get there, but I am definitely getting more of the licorice than I expected to get, and more of the chocolate, and less of the vanilla, actually. Which I'm a little disappointed in that. I was hoping the vanilla would be a little bit more forward on it.
To me, it's almost like I said, black licorice. It's almost like vanilla extract, like straight up, like not like vanilla bean or like some kind of vanilla flavoring, or almost like a chocolate syrup, like sucked Hershey's chocolate syrup straight from the bottle.
Well, I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, it's a chewy beer. I mean, this is thick, and I mean, that's one of the things that I like about the imperial stouts, in particular this one, is that as you see now, I'm 2 sips in, starting to get a little bit of the burn, and I'm getting more of the dark fruit as well. I mean, like, I'm getting almost figginess on the, like, as I swallow and as like I take a breath in right afterwards, like right on the back of that tongue, I'm getting just a little bit of that sort of figgy flavor to it. Not as much as when they did their Sir Isaac Stout with the fig like being so prominent, but there's definitely some of that here.
Yeah, that's interesting. It is like a little bit of like a Fig Newton kind of a thing. I mean, that's typical on like really dark beers like this, is you tend to get like dried fruit. I mean, it's like almost like Belgian-y in that way. But I mean, well, not this beer. This doesn't remind me of a quad at all. To me, it's standard imperial stout. Has that lovely, like the actual flavor of bourbon,
I will say this, 2019 for me was, I think, out of the last, like, let's say 6 or 7 years, my least favorite. And it still leaves me wanting something. You know what I mean? Like, I have to be honest. Like the 2022, I thought was fantastic. The 23, I thought was a little hot out of the bottle, and I think in a year it's going to be really, really good. The 19 to me still, it's how do I put it? It's almost like the alcohol has sort of pushed forward into the flavor and taken a lot of the other flavors that I love of Bourbon County sort of out of it. So, like I was actually really interested when you said 2019. I was like, oh, okay, let's give it one more try. And the thing that kills me is I have another 5 bottles of this. And it is like, well, I mean,
I'll
I
take
have
him if you don't
people,
want 'em.
yeah, we do tastings and,
I will say that after 4.5 years, it's really not that bitter.
no,
Because like when Bourbon County's pretty fresh, like on Black Friday or whatever day they release it, it's usually you get like a lot of hops that day. And it's like they've definitely dropped out on this one. Because like I'm trying to pick out like, do you get like citrus or pine or dank or anything like that?
I don't. Let me see.
I mean, I love a sweet beer as much as anybody. I think you need like a little bit of that because like to me, a beer can be sweet as possible without it being like cloying and like sickly
Mhm.
sweet. You ever had something like so sweet it actually makes you nauseous?
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, it's one of as much as I love the 𝓃𝓐𝓵𝓏 stouts, those are bottles that I have to share because they're, I mean, they're literally a pastry, and it's to drink the whole pint bottle it actually becomes a chore, like after a while. To split it, it's fantastic, but so you see, I don't find the sweetness in this overwhelming. Um, Especially not for a Bourbon County. But you're right, I'm not getting any of that hoppiness on the back end. Like it's all sort of, how do you put it? It's all sort of that syrupy expectation of like, yes, you're getting the bourbon on it, the front end sort of. I still taste it, and then as it goes back, I'm getting a little bit of the chocolate, more of the black licorice, and I'm sort of wondering if that's psychosomatic actually, and a little bit less of the vanilla than I'd like. And I'm getting like dark fruit is the big one for me on this, but I'm not getting the hoppiness on the back end at all.
Yeah, it would be nice if there was just like something in there for like, to just kind of like offer something else. Cause like I'm getting like, sweet bourbon, sweet, fruity malt flavors. I'm not really getting anything roasty either. Although I
Mm,
find like once I don't know what it is. We have to ask a professional brewer, but I feel like once you get over like about 8% ABV and it was imperial stouts, like those roasty coffee notes kind of drop out, and like all you get is just like liquid fruit extract kind of flavors and confectionery flavors. I love a
I
good like roasty character.
Yeah, well, I'm not getting any of the normal roast that you get on a Bourbon County. Like I said, and I feel like that's indicative of 2019's base, is that it was missing something, and I think maybe that's part of what it was missing. The fact that they didn't incorporate that, because I remember with 2020 when it came out, we were sitting in the bar and we opened it up that day, and we were all like, "Oh, okay, thank God they went back to what it was in 18." And then 21 was pretty good, and 22, like I said, I thought was great. But this one, like I said, it's just missing something. And
Yeah,
normally I sit there and chalk it up to like storage at the warehouse. Like I know how these have been kept because I got that case the day it came out, and it's been, in a
right.
cool, dark place. And it's just, I think 2019 was a slightly off year with their product.
This
Um,
one, are you getting like a little bit of like a peanut brittle or butterscotch kind of thing, like in the aftertaste?
okay, you're gonna have to give me a sec on that.
Or like a nuttiness, almost like honey roasted peanuts?
I'm not. But honestly, like after watching your reviews, your palate is more refined than mine is.
Yeah,
Um, but no, I'm not getting that. Like I said, for me, the dominant part is that dark fruit, and a certain amount of the sweetness that I associate with bourbon. I just wish it was a little more chocolate and vanilla forward. That's sort of what I wish.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I would prefer like a little bit more hop balance. I will say that the alcohol in this one is like really mellow.
Hmm.
Like I said, when on Black Friday, this thing is like breathing fire.
Yeah,
You
and the
know?
funny thing was, this was really hot when it came out in 2019, because I remember we all sat there at the bar and we were sort of like, "Oh my god, that hits hard," and
Yeah,
it has mellowed quite nicely as far as the alcohol goes. But I'm getting something in the middle of my tongue that I can't quite place. And I don't know what the heck it is, but it's sort of drawing attention away from everything else. It'll come to me probably way after we're done with this
is it
review.
off-putting or just like a
It's
and then say
slightly off.
cough?
It's slightly off-putting. It's like I said, this is not for me. Like I know you rate the beers, I normally don't, because I just don't feel like I have the knowledge to do a legitimate rating on this. Like, to me, this is not hitting where I want it to hit. So,
Yeah.
like,
I mean,
to the point where if I saw it on a shelf, I'm not sure I would go out and buy more. And normally, I'm sort of a hoarder with these things. If I see them, I'm like, oh wait, they only have one of those. Let me buy that right now.
yeah.
So,
I wonder if you're just getting like oxidation or do you wax seal yours?
mm,
Mm, interesting.
actually, I never did it. And then Kyle on what was that? No
Oh,
Hype Beer Review.
right, yeah.
He did it, and I sent him a message like, "Does that really work?" And he's like, "Yes." And I started dipping the stuff in and sealing it that way. And so far, the wax seal, yeah, I don't know how much it helps, but it's it's much cooler now to open it.
Yeah.
So
You can also use electrical tape.
see, that I haven't tried.
Mm.
That I haven't tried at all.
Um, we haven't commented on the body and mouthfeel, but I would say, I mean, this is definitely on the high, thick and
Yeah.
chewy, viscous,
Hmm.
and to me, the carbonation is quite low. I would say, like almost syrupy, but and the fact that like to me, like it's very sweet, but it's getting right up to the edge of cloying without it actually being sickly sweet.
Yeah, I
I
agree
think
with
it
you
has,
on that.
I think it
I
has
mean,
aged remarkably well. I'm surprised.
I actually think that the carbonation on this is sort of perfect for what it is. Like I like a good carbonated beer because at least for me, with my when I swallow it, it just sort of makes the flavor burst a little bit more in the back of my mouth. Um, the mouthfeel on this, yeah, I agree. It coats the mouth. It stays for a while. You're going to be tasting this for a little while. But I do like the lower carbonation on this because I almost feel like if it was like boiling up in carbonation, that it would take away from the flavor and it would be almost distracting with this.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think you're right. I like the way you put it, that it comes up to the edge of being cloying, but it's not going over that edge. Like they seem to know where they seem to know where they want to stop with this. So
yeah.
I've actually never had a Bourbon County that was too sweet. Like even even
Or
like
like the bananas Foster or one of those.
I thought the Bananas Foster was actually a lot less sweet than I expected it to be. Um, Even
I
the
haven't had that one.
cola. And what was the other one? The cola and the Sir Isaac's, the fig one. I didn't find those to be overly sweet, and those I expected to be really, really sweet.
Mhm. I would say like the drinkability on this one is pretty nice because this is a big beer at
Mhm.
14.7, and we got a whole what? This is a 500 ml bottle, right? Yeah,
Yeah, I believe so. I have to put my
yeah.
glasses on to look at it again, but yeah, I believe that it's what it is.
And
Um,
like the alcohol hasn't like hit me yet, so it's a nice cushiony, soft landing here. So
yeah, it
uh,
never hits you till you get up
I know
with the Bourbon Counties. Um,
we're go ahead.
oh no, no, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say we're going pretty long, so I want to wrap
Oh,
this up.
yeah, sure.
So,
You tell me.
as far as my score, I think I reviewed this. I can never remember. Like, see, it's funny. You have like kind of like a photographic memory when it comes to Bourbon County, but to me, like, I don't really. I remember for like a week or two, and then
Mhm.
it's very rare. Because I remember like the only Bourbon County that really have like fond or like any memories of at all is the first year that I reviewed it. I think it was 2008 or nine,
Mhm.
and I remember it didn't really. That's when it came in a 12-ounce bottle.
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, it had like this kind of like zebra, it's black and white
Mhm.
label. Well, this one is too, but like I remember liking it, but not being blown away by it. And then I don't know which year it was where it actually like blew me away. So I mean, to me, this is considering, and also, and we'll probably talk about this in the podcast. Is
Mhm.
here I'm outside of Orlando. There are a lot of like these mom and pop bodegas that also happen to sell craft beer. There's one right down the road from me within walking distance. I call it the Beer Museum
Mhm.
because they have old beer like this, but they also have like common stuff,
Yeah.
still sitting on the shelf. Although at least the one down the road from me is like this giant walk-in cooler, like twice or three times the size of this room. So like this beer has been sitting in a cooler since, well, I don't know how long, but at least it's been in the cooler as far as I
Yeah.
know. Anyway, so this particular bottle I'm holding in my hand, on a scale of 1 to 10, this is, I'm gonna say about a 8.5.
Oh, you see, you're
It's about an
far
A minus,
yeah,
maybe
you're
B
kinder
plus.
than I am. I feel like this is, like a solid 7. Listen,
Good.
but I have yet to have, except for the Biscotti Stout, I have yet to come across a Bourbon County that I haven't been like, okay, that's good. But of all of the ones that I've had, I think this is the one that, never really, even in 2019, never broke above being average. So, at best. So, I mean, I think, and this is the first time I've ever given a numerical score to any beer. So I think I would give it like a 7.
Yeah, I mean, you can give it a school grade too. I mean, I
Honestly,
would give this a higher. To me, like what's lacking on it, to me, like the hop lacking of hops is bringing it down. But otherwise, man, like it has pretty good drinkability, and like I said, sweet but not cloying. And
mhm. I like that description of it too. I do. Sweet but not cloying. That's because I never really think of Bourbon counties as sweet, but you're right. They really are. Like that's one of the major components of it. So, but yeah,
yeah,
I you're far kinder to this one than I am. So, and I have a friend who when we did the blind review, he was like, "Yeah, this is a 3." Like he just hated
wow,
it.
wow.
So, yeah,
I
it
would have
was
grabbed a different vintage, but that was the oldest one that they had. So I'm like,
No,
all
no,
right,
19. I'm honestly like you could have grabbed any vintage. I probably have one in the back, but it's like, like I'm actually glad because this is the one that I haven't had for the longest. So I'm always interested to see how it develops. So,
cool.
yep.
All right, well, we're going like super long for me, but at least it's a two-person review.
Yeah, sorry about
So
that.
check out Rich's channel, End of the Day Beer Reviews. I'll put a link in the description. Also, we'll be doing a podcast episode, so I'm sure that's going to be down there, up here somewhere. It's you know. So, Rich, I will see you in just a minute for the podcast, but everybody else,
Okay.
we'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.
Okay.
Somebody brewed it. Chad just reviewed it. Thanks for watching Chad's beer reviews. Trust me, the next episode will be a lot better.